Hi guys, it is Dom here. Just had a wonderful opportunity to chat to Jami Morgan of Code Orange about new album The Above and so much more. We go into so much about the concept, the design, the vibe of the whole record. One of my favourite interviews in recent times. I want to thank Jami and of course Cosa Nostra PR as well for giving me two interviews with Jami because we got a little bit cut short on the first one in terms of time. So this is actually filmed over 2 days. You'll see slight changes in clothes, but still hopefully the messages come across and you guys enjoy this as well. And yeah, just an absolute pleasure to do. So thank you to Jami, thank you to Code Orange, thank you to everybody who watches this, thank you to all the teams and people that support us as well. You guys are amazing. So thank you for watching it. Excuse me, thank you for watching this, and we'll see you soon. Nice one. We'll get straight into it because obviously I've got a lot I want to ask you. There's a couple of lyrics on the new album, on the Mask of Sanity slips. You're natural, I'm so contrived. You're floating, but I've died. The mirror, I swear I saw it all, but I'm not sure that I found anything I want. And then, but a dream, you climb up, but it's way too tall, and the colony aren't going to break your fall. Now, this is my interpretation, Jami, so please do excuse me. Is this you addressing your own struggles with fame, with success, or because you've obviously gone way beyond your hardcore and the roots of Code Orange, or is this kind of you looking at, if I've interpreted it correctly, which I may not have done, kind of society's obsession with kind of constantly looking for happiness, success, and things like that? I don't know if I've interpreted that the wrong way.
I mean, I think it's all of the above.
Okay, yeah,
No, but I mean, there's something to all of that. I mean, I think the whole album is in a lot of ways struggles with those things because those things are my life. I think that the album is very much about trying to find a light of inner self while simultaneously kind of plummeting towards a light of outer acceptance, and of
yeah,
hopeful adoration and of hopeful success,
yeah, yeah,
and I think societally, again, I'm not trying to be profound here or anything, but we live in a society that continuously, because of the way technology has, evolved, especially, but continuously focuses on the importance of numbers, of vapid friendship, you know,
yeah.
that's not real, and of adoration. So I think the journey that our band is on is very parallel with the journey that I'm on, which is very parallel with, you know, as a society, what we consume and how we uh, develop.
Yeah, yeah. So it's kind of we're kind of developing together, and I think there's an interesting kind of concept on the above, and obviously, yeah, talking through what the stuff you've just shared with me. Do you feel like then you've found that success, because obviously you've kind of gone from from again, that you're still doing these wonderful, well populated hardcore shows, Outbreak and all those things, but then you're also doing, getting Grammy nominations and being on WWE television. Is that something that you struggle with, or that you relish that challenge? Because I know you've talked in previous interviews about kind of relishing that challenge, pushing yourself, and kind of competing in a way with to prove that you are one of the best heavy bands out there, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we try to answer. It's obviously a self challenge. It's about filling the void of what I would like to hear and see, and I think that we're definitely competitive in ways, but I think that what it's developed into is just, a feeling that you feel like you have something to give, you have something to express that you feel isn't out there, and this exact form. And that's
Mm.
what I think when creativity is at its best, a lot of times is how it shows itself, at least for me. Some people create just because, they feel the need. And I do feel the need very much. But
Mm.
with this band, it's definitely a there's a goal of putting something, putting a new mixture of things out there. And, maybe that mixture has a lot of familiar elements, which it obviously does. But hopefully weaving those elements in a somewhat new way is the goal.
Yeah, yeah, pushing yourself. And that's interesting because I wanted to ask about the visual representation of Code Orange and how that's developed. You've got this, mask that you put on when you go on stage and then you rip it off. And then you've also got these wonderful videos and the Nowhere to Run production side of things. So can I ask you, how important is that visual element of Code Orange now? And how has your attitude to it changed? I do want to ask about what that mask and what that mask means to you. I think it was done by Jason Baker, I believe. So yeah, what is that visual element, and how important is that to you well, as a band now as well as yourself?
Yeah, it's very important. It's always been very important, but as I've gotten more tools on my belt, as we all have, as a group, it's become, more, it's just developed and taken over more and more of my mind space. But I try to really equally distribute. Like the music is the most important thing to, most of the audience. Um, I love visuals. I mean, visuals to me are so important in reflecting things that are really difficult sometimes to verbalize or difficult to express through a song, especially a song where sometimes things are hard to understand. Lyrics can help, but I think visuals make things click for people.
Mm,
And that's what they do for me. And,
yeah,
I think that that's always been something in music. Um, but I think the meaning of visuals has definitely changed over the years, especially recently. But for me, it's about like one, it's about doing something that obviously on the outer layer looks and feels cool to you and feels like it's something you would want to see. But for me, everything has to mean something. There has to
yeah,
be a reason for it to exist.
yeah.
And like the mask to me, it's like my mask of sanity. That's kind of its representation. It's the face that you often hide behind
Mm,
to cover up what's really underneath. It could
yeah.
also be viewed as like a death mask. That's kind of a like been a visual a thing in literature and film and culture in general, art. There's a lot of different, I don't know if you want to call them like Easter eggs or nest things that are buried within the visual lore and
Mm.
ideas that, I like to unpack some of it for sure. Some of it I like people to discover. But the work is there, and um a lot of thought was put into every stitch.
Yeah, yeah, and I want to come back to you really as an artist, and obviously as we have the above out now. How do you look back at the early days of Code Orange Kids, and how you have changed and developed as an artist, as a person? You've obviously again got that such a creative mind. The band itself, you handle your own production, your own videos, all of it. But I know you can't speak for the rest of the band. So what about you, Jamie? How have you changed and developed as a person since the very beginning of Code Orange? What have you learned about yourself as we now have the above?
I mean, I think it's reflected on the records in a lot of ways. I mean, I think that, I'm trying to continue to learn about the importance of self, and
Mm,
not in the sense of caring about yourself over others. I don't believe in that at all, actually, but about being able to live with yourself and who you are, you know.
yeah.
Maybe that's just a shield that I've been building because I'm very used to the feeling of kind of like disappointment for things. But it reflected itself on the record in a lot of ways. It's like trying to build something, it's trying to build that sense of inner peace and
Mm,
on the record, the journey, the way I see it, is, it's somebody, kind of burrowing towards this artificial light of adoration and acceptance and want, while simultaneously trying to find the light of inner peace and self and protection of that, all throughout kind of being antagonized and taken off that path by this kind of parasite, like a brainworm. And I found that heavy music and hard music could be represented by that, and that the hard elements of the album thematically could, be represented by the hard elements musically. And I thought that that was a cool way to interweave our musical styles, and have it make sense with the journey of the album.
Yeah, yeah. Have you found then through the record, I know it's a bit of a deep question for a few minutes, but I want to ask it. Do you feel like you found acceptance? Have you found, are you closer to it, I guess? Because obviously you're talking about, it's a struggle. It is a struggle, and that is reflected through the music. Fans can hear that, and obviously it feels like you've used Code Orange as a catharsis through its history. So do you feel closer to that level of acceptance, self-acceptance, as you phrase it?
Well, brother, it's the last line of the album.
I was coming to that.
It's the last line of the album, I think, says it all. It's like, acceptance is a faraway place, but I'll keep beating it in if I'm still breathing. I think that's about as close as you're going to get in reality.
Yeah, absolutely.
Life is about building yourself up to be able to push through things that are hard. That is what life is about. And that is really what this band's entire catalog and journey is about, in different ways, through different lenses, but it's a big circle, through better and through worse.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna push one in just because I really wanted to ask about this. I remember again watching your performances. Obviously, there was themes in forever, and often you say on stage, Code Orange is forever, and I love that. I think that's a beautiful, it's really impassioned as a message to fans and for yourselves. Do you consider much about the legacy of Code Orange and Code Orange being forever, or does it not really enter your brain space, Jami?
It certainly does. I mean, I think that's exactly what that statement kind of feels like. I think at the time that statement felt like, we're going to be around forever and we're going to be in your face forever. And now what I feel like is that our band spirit will hopefully ruminate in some way forever. I hope. That's why we try to put so much effort into these records. To me, and this doesn't really equate with the modern world, but to me, the art and putting maximum effort into the art is the only way to leave that legacy. It's the only way to have people, hopefully continue to feel your presence after you're gone. Making records that have a lot to give. And I think we've made a couple records that have a lot to give. So it's the best we can do.
So I've got to ask, you mentioned Easter eggs on yesterday about the above, and I wonder if, like, how you could give me an insight into how deep down the rabbit hole fans might need to go in terms of Easter eggs with this record, and I guess the surrounding vibe of Code Orange, I suppose, if that makes sense.
I mean, I wouldn't say the way we try to engineer it is that, it's like layers of an onion, It's, and this actually, that metaphor doesn't make sense for what I'm about to say, but the outer layer should be enough. That's the goal, that people passing by or can just enjoy it. And then if you're really into the band, or you get into like thematic ideas or narrative ideas a little bit, or sonic ideas, then there's more there. But I feel like that's also just what makes a good, not every album, but the type of album we tried to make, that's what makes it, work, is like connectivity and tissue. So I don't know if I would even, it's like, I guess you could say Easter eggs, but that would be make more sense for something that is like rooted in some sort of culture or popular culture or something. And this is obviously fresh for a lot of people. So it's more just connectivity, connective tissue, things
Mm.
that appear and reappear, hopefully with reason, not just to.
Mm.
And but the main goal is great songs and cool art, and then everything else kind of gets built with that in mind.
Yeah, man. It feels like there's concepts there and layers to it which people are going to find, years from now. People are going to find things in these songs, which I think is a
I hope
is
so.
is a beautiful thing. And on that note, I'm sure you've been asked this a lot, so I'm gonna switch the question a little bit. Talking about layered albums, one of the greatest albums of in a lot of people's eyes for the last 20, 30 years, have been some of the Smashing Pumpkins records. Melancholy in the Infinite Sadness is a concept album, and all albums beyond that. So the choice to work with Billy Corgan and to have his brief cameo on the record takes shape, of course. Was that a choice for you on a sonic level in terms of to have this kind of brief denouement, this break between this sort of pulverizing, the pulverizing industrial, metallic, just intense. I love it when it comes in. Anyway, I love the opening particularly, but the whole song is heavy as anything, and then you've got this like lovely Corgan vocal. And I wonder, was that simply a sonic decision by the band to have that break in pace, or do you have a deeper connection with Billy, with the music, and sort of the reason you brought him in on Take Shape?
Yeah, I mean, the break was there. Like when we met him, we
Mm,
didn't know what exactly would fill it. Um, I think the break. Yeah, I'm fairly certain the break was there. Yeah, so I mean, but he totally helped spruce it up. Totally helped with that little guitar melody, from what I can remember, and used my words. Helped added dynamics to it. So
mm,
I mean, and when he just kind of was humming and scatting over it, it clicked in to me in like almost like a this narration kind of sense. Like it made sense for like an
mm.
external voice to come into the play that really like breaks the like it you've been hearing me, you've been hearing us, and when that voice kind of comes into play in the way it does, it's not like a traditional feature would be. It's not a chorus,
No.
it's like it plays almost like a narration role in a sense. So
Mm.
yeah, I was psyched on it. It was awesome.
Yeah, it was just really because it didn't take away from the track. It wasn't all about Billy Corgan. It was a breaking pace, and I just wanted to touch on that because I guess obviously a lot of people connect with the Smashing Pumpkins music, and
Yeah.
and I'm assuming because again more than just a tonal thing. Do you have any particular connection with that band and I guess growing up because I don't want to assume your musical taste, Jamie, but was it nice from uh, a musical perspective to have him involved too?
Yeah, I mean, obviously. I mean, if he's one of the greatest of all time. I was actually listening to the Machina or whatever record a lot,
Yeah.
making this record because I just I liked how it's got like a dark outer layer, but it has a lot of like really poppy sensibility, especially within the first 6, 7 songs. But it's
Mm.
experimental. I think it's super underrated, super, the hits aren't as like pronounced or thrown right in your face, but the songs are hits. Like
Mm.
they're amazing. The choruses are unbelievable in the first like whole big chunk of that record, and it's a killer record. So that record was definitely inspiring me a lot during this. And yeah, I mean, they're one of the greats ever.
Absolutely, man. That record was like industrial rock before industrial rock was cool. I
Yeah,
think
but
is
I mean, it's kind of like what I think we do, which is like people try to put it here or there, but it mixes a lot of styles, and he has a lot of musical knowledge that
it does.
allows that to happen. And it's a rock record. It just rules.
Mm, absolutely. I think that dynamic is there with you guys as well. Obviously, there are tracks on the record, all the Dream tracks, and then obviously Mirror as well. Through your history, you've had these pulverizing tunes, and then these beautiful moments in your records. And I guess is that I'm just squeezing this one in. I keep coming up with questions, so I will not go too overboard. Is that an intentional thing for you with this record and previous records to have those, these pulverizing heavy tunes that people can mosh to, they can lose their shit to, and then these wonderful, because again, like Mirror, if we're talking the above, Mirror caught me off guard, man, but it was stunning in the same way the Dreams did in the previous albums, where you're like, wow, man, the dynamics here, it's beautiful stuff. So is that an intentional thing for the band to have those dynamics in the same way as, say, Pumpkins and Machina did?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think dynamics are key on the roller coaster. I think that like the era of doing, even like in the 80s and 90s, there was a lot of kind of one note, really killer, still original, like heavy music. But I don't see a lot of that now. There is a lot of one note heavy music, but it doesn't really interest me. I think a lot of because the way like production has developed and people's mindsets have developed because of it. So the one note stuff has become one note stuff back then still had human feel. So it was like tolerable and awesome because it's like Slayer, you could feel the way that they played, and there's dynamics to that. But now the version of that is it's one idea, but it's so fake that it just really sounds like one thing over and over. And a lot of people are really into that from what I can tell, but we're not really into it. So dynamics are really important to us. The songs come naturally, the songs come first, but I think it has to fit the journey, and things have to come up and down. And I also think thematically it just worked really well because what I started discovering was that the record was kind of going to be composed of two primary emotions in a way, and one, or scenes, and it even like there's a poster on the inside of the record that really sums it up. It's kind of like one would be kind of this parasitic, buggy, heavy, murderous, violent thing. And that was a really cool, thematically represented like this monkey on your back of hate and of ego while you're kind of burrowing towards what the other side of the record is, which, not to get, whatever, but it kind of is almost two forms of light. There's this like artificial light that is a little more digital and to me represents like, external validation. And then there's certain songs that are similarly a light, but more the light of self, and to me, like the song The Above really represents that. We start to get there towards the end. So I thought, what a cool way that things are just naturally linking up, like thematically, the way I'm feeling matches up with the styles of music that we have the ability to do. And that door was kind of opened by hearing songs like Mirror, like as demos, where it was like, oh, wow, well, how do we make this work? And oh, well, this kind of matches up with how I'm feeling conceptually and thematically. And so it's like the styles of music we can do all play into the themes of the record. And that, I think, worked really well. So I think it all kind of had its place and played into the dynamics.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And you talk about again those two contrasting things. I know we discussed it yesterday briefly in the the answer you gave when you we're talking about Bray. You talked about The Above and this sort of thin reflective line and things that are opposite but feel the same. You go into a little bit more depth in that for me, because for me I've interpreted that as searching for peace, searching for acceptance, but then also that adulation, or and the kind of opposite there. Again, those opposite feelings is the adulation you're searching for, that monkey on your back, and kind of.
I think that I'm just a person. I'm a Gemini for one, so
Same.
I'm a person of dual, who can usually always see things two ways. And I'm a really driven person. I'm a really competitive person, but I'm also a caring person. I'm also somebody who, I want to succeed, but more than anything, I've realized, especially over the course of making this album, I want to really sit with that level of self-acceptance and build that up so that whatever does happen in our careers, our lives, I can continue to push forward in life. And that's what we have to do in life, is harden ourselves, not callous ourselves, but just protect ourselves to be able to keep pushing through the walls that life brings. And so to me, I was seeing all these different ideas. I was seeing connectivity between these different ideas. I was seeing, like we're saying, like the light of self. I was seeing like the world of kind of consumerism that we live in, and how like the digital world kind of represents that in a way that we talked about a lot on the last record. But I was seeing that represented in like films I would watch, in maybe sci-fi films, where it was kind of brought to light in a with a different palette. And that's where you'd see like the Truman Show influence, or like I reference like Vanilla Sky, or stuff that's like, impressionistic, and or even like Ed Scissorhands, The Town. You could see that in the Take Shape video.
Yeah.
I saw myself being drawn to a lot of films that like had these elements of darkness, like a character that was really in its core, going through like inner turmoil in search of self. But sometimes there were like these beautiful elements to it. Like another reference, the poster of our record is very like kind of influenced by like Requiem for a Dream or something. So I just saw a lot of connective tissue.
Yeah.
I saw symbolism in like some of the more horror based stuff that we like, and more noir based stuff we like. And I saw how that connected to like feelings of hate and frustration and self hatred and external hatred that I have had like on this journey of wherever it is we're going and wherever it is I'm going. And so I thought, okay, that's how it's hard to really put it into words, but it's like that's how the overall aesthetic of the record started to shape, and like how it related to the themes and how it related to how I felt. And it all kind of started creating this big board on the wall. And I kind of made a real board on my actual wall to visualize that. That would help guide things. And then we let the songs inform that as well. And we dress the songs up to fit that, instead of, some songs were written with that in mind for sure, but some were written as songs, so.
Yeah, man. Yeah. It's because I did want to talk. I've got 3 more questions left, man, and I nearly brought it up yesterday. You brought it up before I did. Obviously, you brought it up the end of the above, and the line, acceptance is far away place, but I'll keep beating it in. And I love that at the end. But there's a kind of a contradictory line, or as contradictory as I see it a little bit earlier on. I feel like you answered this a bit earlier, but it's I'll accept my fate with grace, fade into the above. So is that a commentary on, again, finding the beauty in acceptance, like because obviously, again, too, you've got this, kind of keeping on, beating on, but then also that level of acceptance. So 2 very contrasting things.
I don't think it's contrasting at all. I think they're both saying the same thing. It's saying, I'll accept my fate with grace, meaning that wherever this journey takes me or takes us, or wherever my life path takes us, I will be able to embrace that, and I will be able to live with that, and be able to, sit on that island and let it wash over me and continue on, in life. And like, because there's times where for me, this band and this journey feels like life or death. Like if I don't succeed, then I'm worthless. And a lot of people around me have heard me say that many times. And they say, they try to encourage me that that's not the case. So by writing and trying to work those things out and reading, and it's me trying to work that out of my system. And I don't know that at the end of the day, when you make a record or you make art, you don't make it and go, oh, I fixed it. It's just, it's hopeful.
Yeah.
It's trying to put something on paper, or I'm trying to put something on paper that I can look at and say, okay, this is what I said, and I have to try to live by this.
Yeah. I like that, man. It's good. I think a lot of people can learn from that as well. And there'll be a lot of crossover between, some of the fans and listeners who maybe felt like that as well. So I think that's a beautiful thing.
And I'm hoping that like people can understand a little more on this record. And this is why I've been trying to steer things around, because people ask me about conceptual stuff and narrative stuff, and I really dig that, and I put a lot of it out there, so I get it. But the most important element of this to me is the personal element, because that is what music really is. It's personal, and every lyric on this record is personal. It either represents something I feel or something that I felt that my people around me felt, and put it into my way. And some of it, and Reba has a few lines and things, and so some of her feelings and our group's feelings, and trying to balance all that.
Yeah.
And that's the most important thing. If you don't want to, there's nothing more important to dig into. It's just if you feel what I'm saying, you know,
Yeah.
and you feel like you can relate to it. That's where music's always struck me.
Yeah, absolutely. That connection, and again, some of those songs have touched people I know and myself, and I think it's a beautiful skill to have, man. Just before we round up this part two, which again, thank you so much for making this extra time. I have a bit of I have a question for you around the visual, the audio visual side of Code Orange. You've obviously just got you've developed Nowhere to Run as a production side of things. I know you've been doing lots of video work. If I was to call Code Orange a brand, is that a bit of a dirty word to you? Like, because like for me, it's exciting to see a band, you know, to see you and your future as a fan for many years now. Obviously, you've not just got beautiful albums and great artwork and beautiful songs, but you've also got, again, other elements to it, the Nowhere to Run production side of things. And I wonder, is it right for me to call Code Orange a brand as well as a band, or do you feel differently about that? I wonder if it's a bit of a dirty word to use. I'm sorry.
Oh no, I mean brands make money though, and we don't make shit. So I'd love to be one.
Right.
If we could be a brand, that would be great.
All right, fair enough, man.
But we think of it as branding, but to me, it's like I'd love to act like it's branding, but branding is done by people looking to create something that will be most effective that for people to consume. And if you ask my band about when it comes to the merch and how much shit costs, and a lot of times we're doing things to make the coolest for us, not to make it the most consumable. We'd probably do things differently if we wanted to make it the most consumable. But there is an overall aesthetic, which is also a lame word, but there's an overall visual identity. That's really what it is to me. It's really important to me.
Yeah.
And that every stitch of is important to me.
Yeah.
And those around us know that probably we take that to a little bit of the extreme in a lot of the ways. But I mean, a brand will be cool because we can make some fucking dough, but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see, man. Fingers crossed. Last one, which has come to me as a reflection on you kind of in this journey that you're on, not necessarily separate to the band, but with the band as well. Well, with the band in context of the question. If you could, it is a bit of an over-the-top question, but if you could say anything to 2012 Jamie, Love is Love, or 2014 I Am King era, to where you are now with the above, what would you say to your younger self now with the knowledge that you have about life, about music, about creation, any of that?
It's going to be a long journey, brother. You should go to college or something because it ain't going to be what you might want to take a different path. No, I'm just kidding. I mean, I wouldn't want to know. If
Right.
I was then and knew, I think I'd be happy to know some things for sure, really happy. But our career is very interesting because we have a lot of awesome highs, and there's also at the same time, it's like we're always catching our breath. We're always kind of what the water is always right here. It really is in a lot of ways. But I would just say keep going down the same path because I'm proud of all the records that I've made, you know? So, I mean, that's probably what I would say. I mean, I don't really think I've done anything that I can't stand on. I mean, you know, we've expressed things in certain ways that are, you know, that we can maybe sharpen up or I could sharpen up for sure. But I feel like for the time of what it was individually, it was what it needed to be and the story that I would like to put forward artistically. So I feel overall pretty good about it, you know?
Nice. That must feel pretty good to say you're proud of all the records you've done, man. There's certainly a lot of bands out there.
I'm very proud of all of them. I like everything. I like every song we've ever done, to be honest. I mean,
absolutely, man. Absolutely. And like I say, you know, it's an absolute pleasure to sit down with you today, Jamie. I want to give you the opportunity to sort of wind up today. Is there anything that you would like to add or plug that I have missed? You know, anything you'd like to say to people in the UK that have supported you, or anything else you want to add before we finish up today?
No, man. I just think I appreciate all those who've supported us. I really, really do. I appreciate people who go into our albums with a magnifying glass and try to figure out and pick up what we're putting down. And I think that this record will hopefully be really rewarding for those people. There's a lot to pick up, and we put down quite a bit. So I appreciate them. I hope it can find some new ears and eyes. I think there's a lot of people out there that would like something like this in this moment in time. I really do.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens, but I'm really proud of this record. I love this record, and hopefully people enjoy it. And thanks for the time.
Of course, man, of course. And thank you. I know you've got more of these, so I really appreciate it, Jamie, and I look forward to doing this again with you soon.
Thank you very much. Thanks for really listening to it. So thank you.